Oh, it's macaron.
Macaron.
Macaron. But you got to put the macaron.
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 Maca.
Macaron. A little Italian in it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hot and Hauter podcast. I'm Arti.
And I'm Dan.
Every episode, I give Dan a recipe, and we find out if it's
A success.
or a disaster.
Nevertheless, it's bound to be an adventure. Let's get to cooking.
All right. Well, I think we should probably start it then.
Okay.
Me. So, dude,
Hey.
we did, Dan!
I knew it. I don't even know
All right.
why. Why? What's the point of that?
I don't know, because it's fun for me.
Okay. I got it.
Joy doesn't need a point, Daniel.
All right.
All right,
Arthur?
Let's go. Come on.
All right. Okay. We did. I'm gonna try because we practiced just a little bit. Macarons.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Macarons. Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we do that,
Macaron.
how was your week?
Macaron?
That's it. That's your answer.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, say it
It's
again.
like, how was your week? How are things? Trying to be cordial here.
It's a week.
Yeah. How many cups of coffee are you on now?
That's actually my first one. I have a very busy week, and it is not stopping. Today is it's pretty crazy, but it's good. It's
Okay.
good to be busy.
Glad.
What about you, Dan?
I
How was your week?
I can't say mine was as busy as yours apparently, but things are good. Kiddo starts ukulele class tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna send him off to
Little ukulele.
ukulele. That's right. I'm actually proud that you know the correct pronunciation of that. That's nice.
Hey, I played it for a minute.
Yeah. Maybe
terribly.
Oh, let's say
Terribly.
sometime you could give us a rendition of it.
I learned to play sorry, I totally interrupted your story. I learned to play Metallica Enter Sandman, that first do that first like
the opening riff. Doom, doom,
yeah.
doom, doom, doom.
And that was it. That was my extent of ukulele. It was pretty good though. It was pretty good.
I'm sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
No, you're good. I was just that's pretty much the hot spot of my week. Apparently, you're
Nice.
way more popular than me. Many people need you.
Unfortunately.
All right, we'll get on with the show. Macarons. So this was this. Would you call this a pastry? I know it's baking, but is this?
No, it's a pastry.
This is a pastry. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a very temperamental cookie. That's what I would probably best describe it as.
Yes, you are very correct.
It wasn't a crazy adventure, but it was kind of I'm going to foreshadow. It was kind of a deflating experience.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Awkward silence.
All right.
So we'll go ahead and hand it over to you for the history of macarons, and then we'll get into the dish.
Okay. Well, the lore goes like this. So the history of the macaron. Macaron? Macaron. Macaron? I don't know. I don't care.
I
It's a
don't
cookie.
care.
It's a temperamental cookie. This week, no mood for this. So, according to, again, another one that it's so old that there's no like, oh well, we know this for a fact. It's lore. This is a lore. This isn't history. This is the lore.
Okay.
So it goes back to the 8th century. So pretty old. And according to the legends, the macaron was introduced in France in 1533 when Queen, and of course, it's another name, just you all know by now, Queen Catherine de Medici. Oh, sorry, it'd probably be Medici?
Medici?
It would be yeah, because Italian. It'd be Medici.
Medici.
Of Italy, married King Henry II of France, and her pastry chefs brought the macaron recipe with them. So, clearly, it's actually originally Italian.
And it
according to the
existed
history.
before the time you just gave us.
Yeah.
Okay. Got
I
it.
mean that's like, that's like,
Yeah, I get it. It's like heritage. It's just part of their
yeah,
culture and no one can
yeah,
tie it down. But that's the
yeah,
first, I guess, exposure to another country or culture.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And then they have so then the cookies were made from almonds, egg white, and sugar, and called weird
Cole?
name, priest belly buttons.
What?
Priest's belly buttons.
Is that's like a name of a flower or something, right?
I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe
Sorry, that's a weird one.
maybe you should vet the internet websites that you go to for this
Dude,
information.
they're all it's essentially me getting all these different histories and be like, okay, that matches, that matches, that matches. So we're gonna go with the things that match.
And Priest Belly Buttons made that list.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
Why not? Throw it in there. I'm not a real food historian here, buddy. So
I think what you're doing is you're motivating our listeners to actually go do their own research just to validate what you come up with.
don't give away my secret.
Oh, this Artie guy, he's full of crap. I gotta check this out. Oh my god,
And
it
they're-
really is Priest Belly
like,
Buttons.
Damn it, he's right. So, and then throughout you know, history, they've been served at many royal marriages. It's like it's the French, like, cookie essentially. It's their go-to for quite a while. And yeah, that's it. That's the macaron,
Okay.
or the legend.
The legend. Well, I've never had much exposure to these, to be honest. I've heard of them.
Mhm.
I've actually heard of how, I guess, complicated, not, I guess temperamental works as well. They are just in general. Apparently, a lot of pastry chefs that specialize in cookies and stuff say that these are one of the harder things to make consistently well.
Yes,
And
indeed, they are.
okay. And because of that, I've never really
They're
had them. They seem kind of like more of a high society type of cookie. I'm more of your just go get your Chips Ahoy and kind of live with it.
Mhm.
But
I mean, they are delicious. If you get a really high quality one from a fantastic bakery or pastry place,
Mhm.
like they're phenomenal.
okay,
So I would encourage you, when you see them, get them. Man.
I need to do that.
Imagine-
I know like our grocery store sells them, but I don't know like the quality.
Yeah, go to a bakery that serves them, and they're usually made fresh, and they're delicious.
Okay. Are they typically in that Oreo setup where they have two cookies and then like a filling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always the two cookies, and usually it's a form of buttercream most of the time.
Okay. Which is that what we did in this recipe?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Before I get into the details of of our specific recipe, I did have a couple other questions with regards to consistency and flavors. You mentioned something about food coloring in our recipe. What kind of presentations and or flavors kind of accompanies these cookies?
Oh, it's all over the place. I mean, so usually the like I said, usually the filling is a buttercream, but it's a variation of buttercream. Like there's people, of course, we're talking like chefs and pastry chefs who are, that's what they do for a living. So they'll infuse pistachios and fruit and herbs and spices into them. They'll include fruit into them. The actual cookies, they'll do the same thing. They'll infuse all these flavors, usually with an extract of some sort. So like you can get pistachio extract, almond extract, lemon extract. They'll use all these things to change the flavor profile of these cookies to make them more interesting. But your basic one is the two cookies, which are what's the word? Meringue. So they're meringue cookies.
Okay.
Because that's, and then the buttercream filling in the middle.
Okay.
So that's yeah. They're all over the place. Just depends on who's making them.
Okay. Cool. My wife has had some experience with them before, and she was excited. She always seems excited by what you choose. I don't know if she likes to see me suffer, or you and her have really similar palate. But these cookies were something that she kind of was I hope you're ready for this mentality with regards to me.
Yeah.
She told me she was expecting me to have difficulty with this. And
Yeah.
and first of all, thank you, honey. I appreciate the support. And second of all, she was right. She was 100% right. So I'll go ahead and get into the dish. Our basic ingredients, we've got egg whites. Well, first of all, you have two things, dough and filling. So our ingredients for the dough that you have listed on this sheet, and that's a point of contention I'm going to come back to.
Okay.
Egg whites, granulated sugar, almond flour, salt, and then food coloring of our choice. Okay, so those are the things in the dough. Now, the filling, you have 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Now, I wanted to say 6 because that really, that was a massive flavor profile in that. And I know it's a buttercream, but the other buttercream I made on the cake wasn't as strong as this one. So that one kind of really, that was a kick in the mouth. I mean, it was good, but it was so rich and heavy. So we had the 6 tablespoons, almost a full stick of butter, the powdered sugar, 2 cups, and then vanilla extract and salt there as well. And just in general, pretty simple recipe with regards to ingredients. And I was actually proud of myself, Artie. You should be as well. I only had to go out and get like 2 items. I basically had everything in my kitchen. I was
there we go.
And one of those items was a piping bags. I didn't have piping bags.
Yeah.
So almond flour basically was what I had to get, and then I picked up eggs, but we didn't have enough eggs. So yeah, the recipe is pretty straightforward on the ingredients list, but it gets interesting with the process that you get into it. The recipe that you gave me, first of all, is this something of your own volition? Is this something that you've come across? Like, how did you choose this one?
So it's kind of a because again, the macaron recipe is the macaron recipe. There are so many out there. I tried to find multiple recipes, just like I did with the history that I was talking about, and trying to converge them to see what ingredients matched.
Okay.
So that was the goal, is to see how many recipes were like this one, and there were a lot of them. So that's what I threw together.
So this you could say would be a pretty generic macaron recipe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll get into it. So straightforward with regards to, you got to get it's a low temperature oven, only 300 degrees. The baking sheets, all that. And then I had to prepare a hot water bowl or a hot water pot because I had to steam cook something. So what I did was, or what you told me to do, was combine the eggs. I did my water bottle trick to take out the egg yolk, and then had the egg whites. I had to do 100 grams of these things. I saw that you kind of switched it up. No cups in this one. Clever. But I have a scale, so I was able to use that. And ultimately, go ahead.
Real quick, there's a reason I do that. So the reason I did that is, as we do more baking things, because baking is, like we've talked about, more of a science. I'm going to start doing that where it's going to be all grams, unless grams don't apply. So like teaspoons and stuff like that.
Sure.
We won't do grams with that. But cups and half cups and all that jazz, we'll start switching to that, because we want to be on point for the measurements. So you can't get better than grams.
Well, to that point, then why do they say 2 cups of powdered sugar, but all the other things are in grams?
So I did that because we've done buttercream before, and I have no reasoning. I just did it.
Okay, I forgot to find the grams. Okay, got it. All right, well, I appreciate the cups on that. That made it a little easier. So you put the egg whites. You got to sift out the yolk and a little bit of sugar, and then you just kind of combine that in a stand mixer. So you kind of make like a really gritty, syrupy, kind of like sand snot is what I kind of called it, because it was gritty and it was the egg white kind of running together. And then you put that over basically you steam it and whisk it vigorously for like a couple minutes. So what is going on there? What are we doing? What's the science?
So, I mean, all you're doing is combining the egg whites and the sugar.
Like melting the sugar down?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I mean, that's all that process is, and um, I don't know why they say pay attention to the frothy. I think it's just because, well, that's because you're supposed to consistently mix it while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just to give everyone like a visual cue. Like when the eggs are frothy, that usually means the sugar's melted into it. So then you're done.
Okay.
Um, but I don't think there's any other reason besides that because it doesn't add the eggs being frothy doesn't exactly add to the meringue per se because you're aerating it when you use the mixer anyway. So I think that's more of a visual cue. I could be wrong.
Well, then why do you do this in the mixing bowl when you could just mix the whites and the sugars together in a regular pot over a heat? Like, why do you have to put it in the mixing bowl and then like literally steam heat this? What's
Well,
why?
it's because you're melting the sugar into the egg.
Okay, but couldn't you not
It's
just do
it's
that
a
in a regular pot?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I I don't know why. It's just what the recipes have.
Well, because I did
I
do a little
I
research
would
and
say it's probably because the direct heat is more likely to cook the eggs as
oh,
opposed the heat through the water with the steaming.
that makes sense.
So if it's directly on the surface of a pot, it's gonna cook because it's heat directly onto it. Whereas this is a transfer of heat from your stovetop to the pot through the water through the steam to then the bowl.
Okay.
So it's kind of I'm assuming I hadn't looked into it yet. I probably won't honestly. Um, it's kind of like make it so where you don't cook it,
Okay,
so
that
you have
makes more
more.
sense. That makes more sense. I
So
was curious why you had me go, but I guess just the direct contact would
yeah.
heat it faster. Okay. Um.
So it's kind of like the same thing as when you do tempered chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it too, because you don't want to do it on direct heat because it's too much heat on the chocolate. It's molecules and shit.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I get that makes sense. That makes more sense. I just it felt like extra work, and I didn't understand
Hmm.
why, so it seemed superfluous. I was
It's
just wondering why.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we do that, and again, just like a minute or two on that. You're looking for a frothiness, and then we go back to the mixer, and then we mix in the rest of the sugar, and then this is where
Mhm.
if you want to add food coloring, we
Yeah.
did add some food coloring, but the end product, I guess we needed to add more. It really wasn't
Hmm.
noticeable. Instead of a
Hmm.
bright white, it was more of an off white. We were going for
Yeah.
like a violet, I think is what we were going for.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I let the kid choose, and that didn't.
Hmm.
It could be the food coloring to proportion, whatever.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then this was one of the first cool, um, like chemical reaction kind of things. Was seeing this liquid turn into basically this
Yeah.
foamy meringue,
Yeah.
and that was really cool. And like you said, look for peaks and when I showed it to Owen, he says it looks like a cartoon show or something like when they have or like claymation when they have like snow and stuff. It kind of had that consistency
Hmm.
and so
Yeah.
he thought that was pretty cool. And then came the point of contention with the recipe.
Hmm.
So the dough list of ingredients does not list powdered sugar, and
Does it not?
it
Okay.
does not. And it says sift together almond flour on the list for dough, salt on the list for dough, powdered sugar not on the list for dough. But I assumed that I was supposed to take the 2 cups of powdered sugar from the filling and maybe that was supposed to be in the dough. So I put that in there and then mixed it into the meringue bowl
Uh,
and it was fine. Everything turned into what it was. I did go a little bit longer than 5 seconds. It says mixer to medium speed whisk for 5 seconds, just enough to combine the flour. But I had to do a little scraping on the sides to get all the flour in there. So I went like 10, 15 seconds. I don't think it was that big
hold
of
up.
a deal.
Wait. Wait. What step?
Okay, so the recipe that you have
Uh
on
huh.
on that I used, step 5, it says sift together almond flour, powdered sugar, and salt. It says twice, so I went through that process twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then gently shake the mixture into the meringue bowl. And then you place the bowl back on the mixer with a whisk attachment, and then you whisk it for 5 seconds it didn't fully incorporate, so I did it for another 10
Oh,
seconds.
you're right. I screwed up on it. Good catch.
Well,
Good job. Hey, you still made it work though.
well, I had to improvise because now the 2 cups of powdered sugar that were on the
Uh-huh.
filling now is in the dough. So when I get to the filling, do I need 2
Just get more
more?
powdered sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, just get more. That's it.
That's
If
what.
you did it, good.
Okay. All right.
Knocked it out. Boom.
So you get everything
Dan
incorporated.
learning.
I'm having to.
Getting,
Yes. Yes, I am.
getting quick on his feet.
So the mixer, we did all that. The batter was pretty much done, and then came the part where it's so interesting how you describe this. But this is from the instructions here. You'll want to
Mm-hmm.
gently fold the mixture with your spatula, scooping up the batter from the outside of the bowl and gently twisting it into the center in a circle-like manner. So
Yep.
I'm assuming you meant like kind of working the edge of the bowl and kind of compiling everything in the middle,
Yeah, you're just like
making a
you're
mound.
folding. You're folding. You're making a circle. You're folding.
Okay, cool. Then you know to stop mixing when you can make a figure 8 out of the dripping batter without the batter breaking.
Yep.
So are you saying I can pick up a clump and do like an 8?
Mm-hmm. And it's just a constant stream of batter.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's what I don't know. I didn't know if I was supposed to be drawing numbers in the batter or if I didn't.
See, what you're supposed to do, make sure the cookies come out really good, is you get a scoop and you have to do your name in cursive across the top. No, it's just so the reason that is that because this batter,
Mm-hmm.
it's very runny but kind of thick at the same time. So the best way to know if it's done right and everything's incorporated correctly is that it's thick but still kind of runny. And the way you can tell that is if you pick it up and a stream of batter just comes off of it.
Yeah,
It doesn't break apart.
it kind of reminded me of like candy, like when you're making candy and it's got like it.
Mhm.
You can tell it's solid, but it's still like malleable.
Yes.
And like,
yeah.
and yeah, that's kind of what I remember. I went to Mackinac Island up in Michigan and I watched them make taffy. And that's kind of the consistency that I saw when they were in the early stages, when it was hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, and then you say the best way to describe the perfect consistency is like slow moving lava. It should give, but only slightly, in slow motion. I wanted to comment you on your in-depth analysis on it was because it was spot on. It was cool. I liked it, so thank you. I wanted to give you props for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll totally take those props.
Oh,
I wrote
okay.
that.
Got it. Thank you. Copy and paste. Once your batter is the correct consistency, scoop it onto a large pastry bag. So I have never piped anything like that before. I guess the extent of my culinary piping experience would be maybe the Play-Doh squeeze thing when you make like the Play-Doh pizza in like first grade. So I've never done that, and this is a very messy thing, and I don't handle messes well. It's not like I can't handle them. It's just if I can avoid them at all costs, I will do whatever I can. And I'm looking at this plastic bag, and I'm looking at this lava-like, dough, and I'm like, how is this gonna work? Because it's still sticky, and I got to get it in the bag, and so anyway, my wife said you got to fold it over, and then you got to hold it like open, and okay, that's fine until you have to reload it. But I did all that, and I got some shots of me and Owen. We're making some of these. We're putting some of the cookie dough down, or is it dough or batter? Does it matter? Same.
I think batter. I think dough. Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I'm just trying to be legit. Anyway, the batter's going on the plate, and I think this kind of led to later on, but I think I made my $50 too big, and I can see how if you go too big with that, that probably sacrifices some structural integrity later on down the road. So I might have gone too big with those, but again, I've never piped anything, so I can see there's a lot of learning curve with regards to knowing the contents, knowing the nozzle, knowing how much force, when to do it. And I have a large amount of respect for like cake decorators now and how they're able to do such intricate work with these bags. And like little to no room for error.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was very impressed with that. So did all that. I smacked it on the table a couple times to get any air bubbles out. I didn't really see
yeah.
any move. I don't know if that's just because I was really good or if they were just too thick and they were stuck in there.
You're just that good.
Oh, well, thank you. And then we let them air dry for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then put them in. Another thing, 13 minutes is what you say for the time. It's a very specific number. How did you come to that number?
Well, so it ranges. This all depends on your oven. It ranges from 10 to like 15. So you saw I put a couple of pictures on there.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, they started to brown around the edges. That was for the full 15 in my oven.
Okay.
The second picture was I only put in for 12 minutes in my oven, and they didn't brown around the edges because you don't want the browning around the edges.
Okay.
You want just the cookie to be the color you made it. So mine were blue. So that's 13 is, it's the middle ground kind of. 10,
Okay.
15, 13.
Gotcha.
But again, it all depends on your oven, and it's something like you should be, which this kind of applies to all baking, especially cookies. You're always kind of checking on them to make sure they're what you want them to be.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
So 13 is the middle ground, but it depends on your oven. Pay attention to the cookie.
Okay. I'll need to do better about that.
If it browns, you've gone too long with these specific cookies because you want them to look, clean, I guess would be the word I'm looking for. You don't want any brown on them. You don't want them browning.
Okay. Yeah, you're not looking for the golden like of a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You're looking for that color that you made it. You want it just to be that color, but cooked nicely.
Okay. So you got to stay on top of it. Then next time I do that, I will have to pay attention to that. Then we go to the filling. The filling was the butter, 6 tablespoons, and of course the vanilla extract and the salt. And now we're to the powdered sugar. The 2 cups you put for the dough.
Mm-hmm.
I went ahead and guessed because I was looking at it as like all I'm going to be mixing up is butter, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of vanilla extract. That's not really going to do much with regards to a filling. So I assumed that powdered sugar was supposed to be in both sections.
Yes, you assumed right.
Okay, how much of quantity with regards to each section? Because there's 2 cups here, but was there supposed to be more in the dough, or is 2 enough in the dough?
2 cups. Two cups.
Okay, well then, perfect. So I just did 2 cups there. We called that on the spot because my wife was like, I don't see this, and there's no sweetness to the filling. It's just butter. Mm-hmm. And
so I'm trying to think. Can't believe I left out the powdered sugar. That's funny. That's great. So yeah, I'm trying to think what would be. So 2 cups in the dough, it's fine. The cookies are going to be sweet, which is whatever. But I think for the future, I'm going to update the recipe, of course. I think you want around a cup and a half. So around 70 to 80 grams. So 2 cups was a lot, but it's fine. It still tastes good.
This is the filling you're talking about?
No, this is the dough.
Okay.
So that's my bad. I thought I had put that in there, but hey, if they tasted good, they tasted good.
They were a little sweet. They were a little sweet. Yeah. And then couple that with the richness of the filling. I have a sweet tooth, no doubt, but I had one of these, and then if you know how like your ears start to get like it's really weird, but if you have so much sugar, your ears kind of like it's so hard to describe. They kind of get warm, and so I could tell that I had a lot of sugar in my bloodstream. So I was like, okay,
you're like, whoa,
we're gonna pump the brakes here. So I have a lot still. I have about 20 cookies still, like cookie macarons, whatever, sitting on the table, and I'm not gonna give my kid a full one. I guarantee you that, because it'll be pinball city in here. But the filling came along fine. Got the piping bags ready, and I did flip the cookies around in the oven. Can you explain why that's important? Like, I basically just changed 180 on them.
It's just it's trying to make sure that every cookie gets the same amount of heat.
Okay.
So that's the whole purpose of it. In a smaller oven, I don't think it's really necessary, but they all say to do it, or most of them say to do it. So, better safe than sorry
Okay.
type of deal. And I think that also helps prevent like some of being brown and some not. I think it's just kind of like, a preventive measure to make sure all the cookies are cooked the same.
Okay.
I think that's the whole point of when you do that in general. That being said, the cook time's so short. You do it if you want. Kind of
Okay.
deal.
Well, I set a timer for 7 minutes, and I switched them around. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you put it on paper, I'm going to follow it.
Well,
The
good.
the We'll get to the end result. I'm just getting there right now. So we prepped the filling,
Yeah.
got that squared away. I did have the kid kind of help me out a little bit intermittently, with different parts. He really liked the
Yeah.
filling, obviously, and then then came the removing of them from the oven. So I had two cookie sheets. I don't know the exact
Yeah.
dimensions, but your typical cookie sheet.
Mhm.
They wouldn't fit side by side on my middle tray. So I
Okay.
had to put one on the middle tray and then one just right underneath it on the next setting
Mhm.
down.
Okay.
I went for 13 minutes. We did we switched them around the middle and I pulled them out.
Mhm.
And we looked on them intermittently and they look like cookies. They
Yeah.
compared to the pictures that I've seen from you, mine were thicker, mine were taller, and
Yeah.
mine were bigger.
Yeah.
They did spread a little bit, but not like what typical cookie dough tends, like if you ever watch a chocolate chip, you put a little chunk and then it spreads out much
Yeah.
more than these cookies did.
Yeah.
But when I took them out, they were puffy and they were nice and they looked kind of pillowy. I turned
Nice. Good.
around, literally 10 seconds later, I turned back around and it looked like every single one had caved in.
Yeah.
And I purposely set them down gently. I thought about all these things as I was pulling them out, and
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and I just you said let them cool. That was the instruction. Just let them cool. Don't touch them until they're cool to the touch. Leave them alone. So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing, and I would say 92 to 95% of them all had some sort of deflation element to them. Some of them literally looked like when a bridge falls. You have an
Yeah.
edge and
Yeah.
just cratered in, and
Yeah.
you could see inside the cookie. And then once they were cool to the touch and I was trying to get them off, I found the ones on the lower part were actually still gooey, and they were
Mhm.
they were fighting coming off the parchment paper.
Okay.
So my question to you with all of that, number one, what type of consistency are these cookies supposed to be when they're finished? And number two, what did I do wrong?
Okay. So, as you've said, this is a very temperamental cookie. What they're supposed to be is smooth, round shells up top. They're not supposed to sink in.
Okay.
Um, Smooth, no bubbles, and they're supposed to have like these little feet around the edges because they're supposed to, when they bake, they're supposed to rise. So they have like this little rough edge around the base, and then the top is like a little like a little rounded shell. That being said, it's very hard to do. These cookies are hard to make for anybody. Me and you, we had the same. We're having we've had the same issues.
Okay.
So a couple things, which I can tell you how this can happen, but it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things where like, well, guess we'll keep trying till we get them right, type of deal.
Okay.
So if your shells are cracked, they come out cracked. That means they didn't rest long enough, so they didn't develop that like air dried shell before you bake them, or they're under whipped, or the oven is too high.
Okay.
Another thing is if they're if they're flat and kind of wrinkly, that means they could be overmixed, too much food coloring, or a hot oven. Um,
Wow.
if if they have the ruffled feet, what I was talking about,
Yeah.
that means overmixed batter, too high of an oven temperature. As you can see, these cookies are jerks. It's very hard for unless you make these all the time and you know how to do it. You have all your stuff dialed in.
Sure.
A pastry chef or a baker. If you do these every once in a while, don't expect them to come out perfect. They won't. And if you get lucky and they do, fantastic, cool. The whole goal of this is kind of the experience of learning how to make a meringue. It's the experience of learning what these little annoying cookies are, really.
Yeah.
Um, and no matter how they look, if they taste good, cool. That's really the end goal. We're we're not chefs. We're not presenting this. We're not selling these. We're doing these for ourselves. And your kids, your family, you don't care what they look like if they taste good. So, you know. But like I said, they're very temperamental. I
Yes.
It just is what it is.
All right. Well, I assumed that they were temperamental. It
They are.
literally turned my back for 10 seconds, and then
Yeah.
it was just night and day different.
Mhm.
So I mean, literally, my wife was there with me, and she goes, "What happened?" And because we
Yeah.
all watched him come out, and I set him down,
Yeah.
and I turned my focus to like set up the next camera angle for the shots for
Yeah.
the show, and I turned back, and she's like, "What happened?" And
Yeah.
there they were. It was just,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they were devastated, but they weren't as happy little cookies as they were when I first pulled
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that was my experience. Without going on too long, how about yours?
A lot of the same.
Really?
I mean, like I said, these are temperamental cookies. Making it was no problem. Like the process of making it, that's not the hard part. I mean, none of it is really hard. Like you said, it's not a hard recipe. It's just you hope one of the five things that could screw them up doesn't happen,
Sure.
and you don't know which one it's gonna be. All you can do is try and like make the meringue the best you can. You want to make sure you can get those soft peaks at the end, so when it like makes the little like ice cream cone thing.
Yeah.
That's your soft peak. If you're doing that, cool. You just want to make sure the buttercream is nice. You want to bake them at the right temperature, and you're trying to make sure these temperamental little jerks are like perfectly safe the whole time. Because the one thing you didn't know that you did wrong is going to screw them up.
Yeah.
Um, so my experience is, making the meringue, mixing the buttercream, all that was no problem. Um, I did screw up though because I put my oven on 350 instead of
Oh.
300 because I wasn't paying attention. As I've mentioned earlier, had a busy week. But in the end, barring my recipe screw, which made them a little too sweet, which I will fix before we put that on the website. They came out good. They weren't pretty, as in they're like wrinkly and they deflated,
Mhm.
just like yours did. But when I put them together, they were good. They were cookies. They were sweet. My kids were like, "Whoa, yeah, awesome, love them," that type of deal. Because sugar.
Yep.
I ate half of one and I was like, "Okay, I'm good. I'm good."
Yeah. It's a little
Um,
tight.
but that's because I screwed up on the recipe.
Okay.
So that's it. Yeah, it's a fun process to make these cookies. And if they come out perfect, you're like, yes. If they don't, you're like, okay, still tastes good.
Sure.
Type of deal.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, and like you said, it's a
No.
cookie, and people
Yeah.
people will gladly overlook what visual deformation may happen
Yeah.
with the
If it
cookie.
tastes
For
good,
yeah.
it tastes good, man. That's what matters.
The other thing
It's
I wanted
just
to say that was really cool was making the filling.
mhm.
We were already skeptical because we were confused as to whether the powdered sugar was intended for this. So we did
Yeah.
make the correct assessment and put 2 cups
Yes,
in
you
there.
did.
But then the hand mixer was just literally bouncing butter around with powdered sugar, and
Uh-huh.
literally in 2.3 seconds it was a frosting, or it was a filling. And the metamorphosis from just these two things like kind of fighting each other in a bowl to
Yeah.
boom, it surprised, and Ashley and I both were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't see that coming. It
Yeah.
just changed in an instant. It was really cool
Yeah.
to see that happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's fun. When I was making mine, I got a little impatient and I just put a little milk in it.
You. Ch-
I did. I mean that's we normally you put heavy cream in it.
And that's what I said. There's no. I told her
Yeah.
there's no liquid source of anything
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
because of the amount of butter. So like you said, it will just change instantly. But it's been a week for me, so I was like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Oh, good.
I don't care. You get a drop. I literally put a tablespoon of milk in it. I was like, let's go. Combined. I got things to do.
Would that dial back the sugary nature of it a little bit?
No, because it's only a tablespoon.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to. It kind of just gave it a little hydration.
Okay.
That's all it did.
And then the other thing I wanted to say, and then I'm pretty much done, was piping the filling. Obviously, haven't never piped before. Well, I did in this step about 15 minutes earlier. But what did you do on your filling approach per cookie? Because when I was setting it up, Ashley said that you're supposed to be able. It's like an Oreo. You should be able to see the filling kind of through the sides. And then I already had structural integrity issues, so smushing them together to try to get that to spread wasn't an option.
Yeah.
What type of approach in the filling piping would you recommend?
So, even if these came out perfect, they are still very gentle cookies. If you push on the top, it will crack.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they came out perfect, had the nice bubble, they're smooth, everything. You kind of want to do like the circle into the center to fill in the whole thing.
Like a
You know
spiral?
Yeah, like a spiral.
Okay.
You want to kind of spiral the filling in on it, and then just gently put the cookies together. You're good.
Well, then I have plenty of experience with Cheese Whiz and Ritz crackers doing that.
See, man. See, you never knew. You never thought one day you'd be like, "This is a culinary technique." Ooh, cheese whiz and a cracker.
Oh man!
But what you were doing was practicing your culinary skill.
Ashley mentioned the feet thing too. What is it with these cookies and body parts? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. That's just what they call them. I don't know. Go ask the French. Ask them.
I'm good.
Or the Italian, or whoever invented the cookie. We know. Who knows now?
Okay.
But I think it just looks cool. You know, it rises up. I think is the whole while it's rising, it kind of creates that.
Okay.
So it looks cool.
Well,
yes.
I'm gonna have to seek out.
Thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to seek out some good pastry chef's version of macarons because I can't base my opinion solely on what I've made. That wouldn't be fair.
And also give these a try again now that I've fixed the recipe. But yeah, so like these cookies really do look better and get better the more you practice them. It's one of those things.
Makes sense.
You know, like a chocolate chip cookie, you do it a couple times, you got it down. Like you know how to make it how you want it. These, it takes a lot of practice.
These take more finesse, absolutely.
They do. Like and also right now it's pretty hot in California. So that with the oven, my kitchen is just hot whenever I'm running an oven.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure the heat in the kitchen didn't help the consistency of the batter and all that jazz either. So, you know, like I said, these being temperamental the way they are, you do what you can and hope for the best.
Okay. I'm still amazed at how much climate can affect these dishes. That just blows my mind. Mm-hmm. Like humidity and temperature.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. Because it's hot here, too. And it's fairly humid as well. And I'm sure that has a significant effect on that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever you're making something that is supposed to be room temperature and it sets nice at room temperature, what's room temperature is like, what, 77 degrees?
I guess it depends on where you're at.
Well, that's like what you would consider room temperature.
Oh,
not
okay.
hot, not cold.
Gotcha.
Just, around 77 degrees. If it's 80, that's a big difference. If it's 60, if it's 70, that's a big difference to how the food you're making, specifically batters and buttercreams, things like that, how they can set up. It can change how their end consistency, which changes the dish.
Okay. Well, these were good. A little too sweet for me, and that says a lot. So I think the next time we do them, you know,
get it? I screwed up.
No,
man.
no.
Jeez.
To be honest, I think this would be a fun thing to redo if we're in the same kitchen.
Yeah, we should.
I think
See who does it better.
yeah, like a pipe off or something, you know. No, I'm talking about the whatever. I'm done.
That hand gesture didn't help, bud.
It's all about framing. But I'm talking about like something that would be kind of to see a master and an apprentice situation side by side.
Let's not say master.
Well, okay.
There's no master here. There's a guy who knows how to cook, and there's a guy who doesn't know how to cook. I think those are good. Well, now he can definitely cook.
I'm working on it.
You've all seen it. You've seen it. Those dishes.
I think I peaked.
Beautiful.
I peaked with the parm. I peaked way too early.
It's just all downhill now.
Well, that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Yeah, same here. It was good. It was fun. So,
you want to tell everybody where they can find us?
I think I can do that. I think it's possible.
You can handle that?
I can handle it. As you can see, because you're watching this, we're on YouTube. Go watch it. We're also on all the podcast platforms you listen to, Spotify, Apple, all the other ones, because, I mean, those are the two biggest, we know. Our website, all our recipes, also a podcast on our website. And check us out on all of our social medias, Haute and Hauter. And I'm at Arti. He's at Poop Shizzle. So, as always, keep cooking, y'all. Bye.
There it is. I don't know why I'm hanging on to that.